traveling across the globe can be pretty scary, especially if you don't know the language, you're not familiar with the customs. So if you're planning a trip to Vietnam, this video is for you. This is going to be my top 10 tips and tricks. These are just some of the things that I've learned over the years. Hopefully these can help you avoid some of the nightmares that I've had to encounter. So from the planning stages of your trip to the day that you first arrive in the country. Traveling in a foreign country, it can be full of pitfalls, issues, um, just all sorts of reasons for anxiety, and then you almost end up getting scared to travel. All right, so yeah, I've been that guy that's messed up. I've wasted all sorts of money. I've wasted time. I ran into delays. So hopefully this list helps you out just so you don't run into the same stuff that I did. All right, so let's get into the first tip. Travel visas. Vietnam requires a travel visa. There's a lot of different ways that you can get a travel visa or apply for a travel visa. The most common way now is what's called an e-visa. You can apply for it online. It's a pretty simple and straightforward process. I've heard stuff where people get approved as quickly as 3 days. But in some cases, you might run into issues and it can take up to 2 weeks. So don't wait until the last minute. Get it done as quickly as you possibly can. Right. One big piece of advice: if you've never done it, talk to somebody that has. Have them walk you through the process. Be very careful with the way that you fill out the form. Little stuff like filling out the dates, filling out your first and middle name. Vietnam fills that out a lot differently than the US does. Right? So be very careful with how you fill out the forms. Any of those things can cause a big delay in how your form gets approved or rejected. Now, let's call this kind of a sub tip or tip 1A. If you're of Vietnamese descent, your parents were born in Vietnam, you may be eligible for a 5-year visa. Go talk to a local travel agent that's familiar with the Vietnam visa process. They can help you apply for the for the 5-year visa. Way more convenient. You get it done. They can get it done for you in about 2 weeks. It can either be a full page. It can either be a full page sticker that goes into your passport, or a whole separate book. But you only have to get it done once every 5 years, and you're good to go. All right. Now, tip 2: when you book your ticket and your visa, make sure your ticket, your visa, and your passport, your name is the same across everything. First name, last name, middle name. Make sure everything is spelled exactly the same. Make sure that first name, middle name, last name is on everything. I came across this issue recently, actually on my last trip to Vietnam. I didn't realize when I bought my ticket, my middle name wasn't on the ticket. So I got to the airport and I ran into, I think it was about a half-hour delay. Got into line, was trying to check in my luggage and everything. They told me that my name didn't match my visa or my passport. They had to change my ticket. So they pushed me out of line. We're going to update the ticket. Sent me out. They were updating it. It took about half an hour to do it. Once they updated it, I got an email that said that it was fixed. Had to go back into line, wait for them, wait until I got to the front of the line again. Then I was able to check my luggage in. Overall, it probably took at least half an hour to 45 minutes. If I hadn't shown up late or early to the airport, I probably would have been late. So when you book your flights, book your or take care of your visa and all that, make sure everything matches. Don't do what I did. Tip number 3: hotels and accommodations. The three most common websites that you're going to use: Agoda, Booking.com, and Airbnb. Each one has their pros and cons. Um, Agoda, it's great for hotels and it's great for the smaller towns. Generally, especially with the smaller towns, they'll have the best selection. And a lot of times they'll have the best rates out of the three websites. But one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times they do ask you to pay for your entire stay up front when or at the time of booking. Occasionally they do have free cancellation. I've seen free cancellation on a lot of their bookings actually. But the problem is you've paid up front. Now, if you do want to cancel, then now you've got to wait for your refund to come through. So it's just a little bit more of a hassle if you do decide to cancel your hotel. Booking.com is a little bit more expensive than Agoda. I've used them a lot in the past. They have a pretty good selection as far as hotels go, and especially if you have to book for a bigger group. They give you generally other options. So, booking multiple rooms or booking suites or villas, they give you good options there, or they give you alternate options as well. But they are generally a little bit more expensive than Agoda. They do often offer free cancellations. They generally offer, or you generally don't have to pay upfront. Um, Most of the time, I think I've seen that you will pay at the hotel itself or upon checking out. So if you're unsure of where you want to stay, you feel like you're possibly going to change hotels, whatever it might be, they're a pretty solid option. All right. And then option 3 is Airbnb. Um, Airbnb, great for long term stays. Um, well, longer term. So anything from multiple weeks to a month. All right. So most of the time, if you book for a month, they'll automatically just tack on a discount for a longer term stay. Um, I normally will book them if, say, I know that I'm staying in a city for over 2 weeks, um, 2 to 3 weeks. I'll use Airbnb just for that discount specifically. Generally, those are going to be run by um, private owners, or if I'm looking for somewhat more of an apartment or a studio where I want a kitchen or something a little bit more than just a hotel room, I'll use Airbnb. Their prices are a little bit more comparable with Booking.com, so they're going to be again slightly more expensive than Agoda. All right, so those again are going to be your three general websites that you're going to use for booking accommodations. That's again Agoda, Booking, and Airbnb. All right, and tip number 4: uh, before you even leave for your trip, there's going to be 3 apps that you should download onto your phone. First is, well, actually, the first 2 are going to be your messaging apps. You're going to download Zalo and WhatsApp. Both of those are just general messaging apps. Both you can message people through Wi-Fi, through your data plan. Um, Nothing too crazy about it. My recommendation, though, download those at home, set up an account while you're at home using your personal home-based telephone number. All right. Do not wait until you're overseas to set up your account. If you wait until you're overseas, you're going to have to go get a local phone number. They're going to have to text you a verification code in order for you to confirm that it's your actual phone number. So get all that stuff done before you even leave for your trip. All right, so set it up at home, verify everything, make sure that your account's set up. Do all that stuff before you even leave. Get everything squared away. So by the time that you leave for your vacation, everything's already taken care of. You now have that account permanently, right? Also, down the line, occasionally Zalo does ask you to verify that you still are using that same number. So a year from now, if you still want to use that Zalo account, if you no longer have that number from Vietnam, you're not going to be able to verify it. Whereas if you set it up on your US number or whatever it might be, if you still have access to that, you can still verify it. You still keep that Zalo account. All right. So that's one of the reasons I'd say set it up at home. The third app is going to be Grab. I use them for everything. Grab is basically your Uber, it's your DoorDash, it's your ride sharing, food delivery, grocery delivery. They handle everything. All right. Basically, you're going to use them pretty much from the time that you get off the plane to the time that you leave the country to go home. You're going to use them for everything. All right. My recommendation is, again, download those three apps, get comfortable with using them, especially Grab. There's some kind of weird stuff on there. Set up your account. I don't think that Grab makes you verify your phone number. If they ever do need, if say, for example, a food delivery driver ever needs to contact you, they can call you through the Grab app. So I don't think you actually need a phone number in there. I think in my account right now, I have a non-active phone number. They can still contact me. But make sure that you set up an account on there. You're going to end up using it for drivers, food delivery. Their Grab is probably the best app I've ever used. I use them for everything. So, tip number 5. Actually, this goes along with, speaking of Grab. Before you leave home, open up the Grab app. Make sure that you take a look at what it costs to go from the airport to wherever you're staying. Get an estimate of how much it would take or how much it would cost for that ride. Reason being, when you get to Vietnam, you step out of the airport, there's going to be a bunch of cab drivers or Grab drivers that are going to give you some astronomical prices. They're going to throw out some crazy numbers. If you at least have some research or done some research, you know roughly how much it costs you to get from the airport to your house or to where you're staying. Hopefully that avoids you getting scammed. So take a look at airport to your hotel. Let's say it costs $200K, right? Add about 10 to 20K extra because the driver is going to have to pay the airport fees. So now say roughly you're at about 220K. Then add a little extra. Add another 20K on there just for the convenience of it. So if a driver tells you that it's 240, 250K, go for it. That's absolutely fine. But if a driver tells you that it's 350, 400K, tell them to go screw themselves. You'll go find somebody else, right? You've at least done your research. You know roughly how much it should cost. But 2 things. Do not get into a car from the airport unless you've agreed on the price, right? Do not ever get into a car at the airport unless you've agreed on the price. 2, do not let the driver grab your luggage and put it into the car until you've agreed on the price. All right. Make sure that you've agreed on the price first before anything happens. There's way too many scams that can happen at the airport. I'm not saying that every single driver is going to try to scam you, but there can be way too many scams that happen at the airport. So protect yourselves. Do your research ahead of time. The Grab app is a great way to do your research and know roughly how much it's going to cost you. All right. So before we get on to the next 5 tips, if these are helpful and you guys like videos like this, let me know. Drop me a comment. Let me know what your favorite tip was, or if there's anything that I missed. If you feel like there's any other tips that other viewers can, benefit from, or if there's anything that maybe I don't know about, leave it in the comments. Let us know. Also, by the time that this video is released, I'm actually going to be in Vietnam for quite a while, or traveling the country for quite a while. I'm going to be there for about 2 months. So make sure that you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell somewhere down there. Just don't miss out on any of the videos. I'm going to be traveling throughout the country, central, southern, mountains, bunch of different cities. So don't miss out on any of that stuff. Make sure you guys subscribe. All right. And on to tip number 6. All right. Now, tip number 6, cash. So I personally like to bring cash. I avoid ATMs as much as I possibly can. Just unless you've got a Schwab account or any of those bank accounts that actually refund your or reimburse your ATM fees, avoid them if you can. A lot of the ATMs over here only allow, I think a lot of them only allow you to withdraw like $80 worth or up to $200 at some ATMs. So you're not going to get a whole lot of cash out at a time. And then if you need more, it's just more and more transaction fees racking up. And so that stuff just adds up real quick. So I always bring as much cash as I think I'm going to need for the entire trip. Bring $100 bills. Go to your bank, get as many fresh, clean, new $100 bills. If you go to your bank, ask them for new $100 bills. That does make a difference over here. So basically, if you go exchange money, if they look at it and there's creases, there's writing on it, if there's anything torn, it's going to reduce the amount of how much cash you can possibly get. In some cases, if the imperfections are too bad, so if, for example, it's a torn bill, some places might not even accept the bill. They might just outright reject it. For example, if, say, the exchange rate right now is, I think yesterday when I went to get money exchanged, it was 25,600 to a dollar. So if there's a crease, it might drop it down to 25,000. If there's some writing on it, it could drop it down to 24,500, whatever it might be. So it could just keep adding up how much money you're losing. So get as many fresh, clean bills as you can. Just if you guys do need a money exchange place, let me know in the comments. I've got one that I always use. All right, tip number 7. This one is kind of common sense, but I keep forgetting about it every single time that I go here. I actually did remember it this time. Mosquito spray or lotion, especially during the summer or months. If you're here during the warmer months, make sure you bring mosquito spray or mosquito lotion. Bring it everywhere with you. If you're going to go outside, Put it, for some reason, I get bit up on my ankles and my feet constantly. Um, Make sure that you put it on everywhere you go. Even if it's during the day, there's mosquitoes out. They can be out, especially depending on where you go. If you're out more in the countryside, they're freaking everywhere. So mosquito spray, mosquito lotion, make sure that you bring some. Tip number 8, customs fast track. Customs over here getting into the country can be a freaking nightmare. If your flight lands anytime during the middle of the day, even I would say after like 8 or 9 o'clock, um, if you get here anytime after that, you could end up waiting at least an hour in the customs line or in the immigration line. I've heard nightmare stories up to 3 hours. So there's all sorts of services that you can look up. Do a Google search for Vietnam arrival fast track. It's the ones I found were about 25 or so dollars. What they'll do is they'll meet you right as you get off the plane. They'll walk you directly through over to the customs line. They'll normally have like a whole separate line set up. They'll walk you through there, walk you through the whole process. It's a lot faster than having to wait through like the general, zigzagging line. That one probably takes like 10, 15 minutes. It's much, much faster. I'm not going to recommend any specific service just because I've never had to personally use them, just because my flight normally arrives at like 4 or 5 in the morning where it's the only flight. So that customs line has generally gone pretty quickly. But especially if your flight, again, lands anytime after like 8 or 9 o'clock, that line can last for quite a long time. So customs fast track is probably a good idea to look into it. All right. So tip number 9. And this one could possibly cost you a ton of money if you're not careful. Watch the weight of your luggage very carefully. So every airline's going to be a little bit different. They have different weight restrictions, weight limits, how many pieces you can check in, size restrictions, whatever it might be. So make sure that you're aware of what your airline's limitations are. Don't go over the allowable limit if you know that you have to. And for example, you're going to bring something that you know is just going to be heavy, that's going to be oversized. Look into possibly prepaying it before you get to the airport that day. For example, if you fly with Vietnam Air and you go to the airport and you pay for it at the counter, I believe it's $260. If you prepay for it, I think you can pay, it's $200. So you're saving yourself $60 there. So definitely something that you might want to look into if you know that you're going to have to go with something that's outside of their weight limits. All right. And the last tip, SIM cards, or basically your phone. So a lot of people have been talking about the eSIMs, and like Air Allo is probably the one that I most commonly hear about. There's all sorts of eSIM services. If you're only here for 2-3 weeks, the cost of a physical SIM once you get to Vietnam is not that expensive. It's, I think, normally about $350K. So $10 to $12 for an entire month. I would say I normally skip the eSIM just because it's pretty expensive if you're going to look into some of those services. If you land in, for example, if you land into Saigon, as soon as you get through all the baggage claim and all that, you're about to leave the airport, you pass through this one hallway. There's a bunch of counters there. There's a bunch of people that are selling SIM cards at the counters. Pretty much all of them across the board are going to be around 300 to 350K for the entire month. You can always pick up a SIM there. The other route that I've gone with for this trip, and it's actually worked out really well. I've signed up with Google Fi, so I'm keeping my US number. As soon as I landed, I've got data, I've got voice. I don't have to pick up another SIM card. It's basically just an eSIM, same number that I've had in the US, nothing changed. I landed, I've got phone service immediately. If you guys are interested in signing up for Google Fi, I'll leave my referral code down in the description. But I think you get $60 if you do sign up. So if you're interested in it, there's free cash for you. But that's another option as well. So again, those are my 10 tips. If that's been helpful, let me know. If there's anything that I missed, drop it in the comments. If there's anything that you guys think is helpful for other viewers, drop those in the comments as well. Hopefully that helps you guys. Those tips helped, at least make the planning a little bit less stressful for you. If it helps, don't forget, leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.